Welcome to Fantastic Vision. Please subscribe us before you watch today's video. Recently, the focus of global attention has been on China and the United States. After the United States officially announced that 140 Chinese companies would be blacklisted, China also quickly fought back. In less than 24 hours, it officially announced that it would ban the shipment of dual-use materials such as gallium, germanium and graphite, which made Biden feel quite powerless. In the future, China will track the end users and users of rare metals throughout the shipment. Although this new regulation affects all countries, it is also very obvious that it is aimed at the United States. After the first proposal of the corresponding ban on sales, the United States continued to purchase rare raw materials from China at low prices through external channels. In the past, China also turned a blind eye, but the United States did not know how to be grateful and still insisted on launching a more excessive ban. China naturally no longer tolerated it. Now that China has corresponding strength in the field of science and technology, it has gradually gotten rid of the constraints of American technology and naturally began to plug such loopholes. The US media has repeatedly complained about the US's behavior, saying that it will cause many fields in the country to come to a standstill. China has absolute say in rare metals such as gallium and germanium. It not only controls the most advanced refining technology, but also ranks first in the world in terms of reserves. After seeing that the strictest ban did not work, the United States began to get angry. According to Reuters, the United States will introduce a new regulation in the near future, which will allocate $3 billion to U.S. telecommunications companies for the comprehensive dismantling of Huawei and ZTE's communication equipment, and urge friends to remove Chinese equipment from wireless networks as soon as possible. What exactly does the United States want to do? It's less than a month before Biden officially leaves office, but he doesn't seem to be going to stop in this last time. Although he has taken out $3 billion for subsidies this time, the effect that can be formed must be extremely limited. After all, the United States has not been able to come up with an effective 5G network alternative so far. Enterprises prioritize profits, and this is not the first time such means have been used. However, in the end, the so-called subsidies were just slogans. After deceiving communication companies to dismantle equipment, the 5G network layout in the United States was paralyzed. This has long made American telecom companies lose patience, not to mention those in allied countries. As early as 2019, Huawei 5G had already led the development of the entire communications field. When the United States failed to obtain technology, it began to slander Huawei equipment for network security problems. After lobbying, many countries really believed the slander and dismantled Huawei equipment. But in fact, this is just the result of coercion and inducement. After the US ban was slightly slowed down, including the UK, which had previously threatened to completely dismantle Huawei equipment, it slowed down the progress of Chinese companies' communication equipment. Because American telecom companies did not receive subsidies, they not only did not comply with the ban to dismantle, but continued to purchase Huawei equipment. Amid the constant friction of Sino-US trade conflicts, the United States has not compromised at all on the communication equipment of Chinese companies. From the beginning, it expressed its willingness to provide corresponding subsidies for the removal of Chinese equipment, but the amount of subsidies reported exceeded $10 billion, and the $1.9 billion provided by the United States could not fill this gap at all, which also led to the slow implementation of the entire plan. In order to safeguard their own interests, American telecommunications companies have threatened that if they insist on removing Huawei's equipment, most parts of the United States will lose their only telecommunications company, resulting in the closure of network services and even affecting the use of 911. The United States naturally felt the pressure, but no one knows how much water there is in the $3 billion that was suddenly taken out this time. But for American telecommunications companies, they will definitely not fully believe these so-called plans. This is just part of the Biden team's crazy attack to transfer the trouble to Trump. But according to this posture, the United States will definitely restrict the communication technology of Chinese companies to the end. Although China is now ahead, it must be on guard. In short, the Sino-US trade dispute has escalated. The US has blacklisted 140 Chinese companies, and China has retaliated by banning the sale of rare metals. The US has pushed for another $3 billion in subsidies to dismantle Huawei and ZTE equipment, but the effect is limited because the US has no effective 5G alternative so far, and the previous subsidy promises have not been fulfilled. What do you think of this?